Returning to Riven a week ago, the smell of the place overwhelmed me moments before I could see anything. With my sight only partially cleared, I stood motionless, peeping ahead through a dim veil which was slowly lifting. There was a violent clang and bars appeared. I remember breathing slowly and very deeply, tasting the familiar Riven air, but not recognizing a thing. I must have been hit with the dart right away. I thought it was an insect bite at first. I'm trying to remember it all, but it's difficult. Maybe because of the drug. There was a voice. A man I didn't recognize stood before me. Rivenese, though he was wearing Dundee dress. He seemed to be talking to me, but the poison was already taking effect. A shadow crept in, and I fell asleep. Then there were the many voices, but I understood none of them. Like hundreds of people whispering. I couldn't wake up. No matter. The dream did end. And now, to be here with Etty, it's been so many years. I didn't even realize how much I missed her. Like a piece of me that I'd forgotten I'd lost. She's beautiful and so full of warmth. But the years have also left her with a wound which was not there when we were children. I write quickly from my prison. Nayla will return your book, which the moiety intercepted upon your arrival. After questioning her, I have concluded that it was written by Atris for a very specific purpose. Gen will desire to use it, although he may have suspicions. If you find my prison, you will still need the combination to release me. Gen keeps it in his office. Then, I assume, we're to signal Atris. I think I know how it must be done, but don't signal him until I am released. Catherine. I do wish you were more interested. It seems like I'm asking all the questions. It's awkward. No one asks me where I've been or what I've been doing. This hurts. But I understand it. Their beliefs are born out of ignorance and oppression. They are gentle people, but they've had their nest destroyed, and now they're frantically clinging to anything that might save them. But why have they chosen to cling to me? I'm confused. As a child, I always felt out of place here. I never belonged. They misunderstand me, and I couldn't relate to them. But now, I'm overwhelmed by an intense feeling that I owe everything to them and this place. I thought I would never see them again, and yet, I'm here. I've been given a second chance, but a second chance at what? Saving them? Fulfilling their prophecies? Being their savior? The moiety. Atris would want me to chronicle all that I've learned. I can at least record some of it. It seems that when Atris and I trapped Gen on Riven many years ago, our efforts were witnessed by most of the inhabitants here. 2 of the Rivenese even witnessed the confrontation with Gen at the fissure, where I linked back to Myst, and where Atris threw himself into the abyss. Of course, they understood little of what they were seeing, but they were somehow able to guess that we had won. That Gen was no god at all, but only a feeble impostor, a false god, and that we had trapped him here on Riven. I had always hoped that they would deduce this simple truth, but their further conclusions have astonished me. Atris had stripped Gen of his power. Therefore, Atris must be a true god. As a true god, he was chasing me, the spiritual misfit of a Rivenese womb, to be his wife. I was transcending into deity, and would lord over Riven forever. Thus, the moiety, as they call themselves, were born a dissident society, sworn enemies of Gen. I did not know of their beliefs regarding Atris and myself until 2 days ago. Etty was, for some reason, hesitant to tell me. Can't figure out why. I know she doesn't believe these things. Of course, everyone else assumed that I was aware of my own god status, so they made no effort to inform me. I only realized it at a recent gathering to which I was invited. I sat at the front of the dimly lit, crowded cave as they told a mythical story of my own life, acting out the battle between Atris, myself, and Gen at the edge of the fissure. The events had been exaggerated into grandiose proportions. It was offensive, but I was unable to stop it. I was unable to break the illusion which is the very foundation of their hope and courage to band together and rebel against Gen. Since then, I've learned of other doctrines and beliefs that have evolved, the most disturbing of which is the conviction that one day I would return to Riven to free them. Some believe that I will overthrow Gen. Others believe I will bring them to paradise. I don't know how to deal with this. I fight it myself. I love these people, my only real kindred, but they will not love as an equal, which hurts me. I would rather be their slave than their master. Over the years, as Gen's power has become greater and greater, the moiety's numbers have grown, and they have become more and more adept at hiding themselves. They now live in a complex network of caves that he still has not discovered. The moiety, for the most part, have completely severed their relationship with any of the Rivenese that chose against joining them. But I hope they've not sacrificed vital limbs in order to remove the cancer. Even Father and Enant are still on the surface in Gen's domains, and I long to see them, but a dimness shrouds Eddie's face every time I've mentioned them. Since this break took place, they have interfered with the surface in superficial ways, occasionally sabotaging one of Gen's constructions or stealing food from the villagers. They wear strange masks and costumes during their short voyage to the island's surface, and take this regalia very seriously, refusing to be seen by anyone outside the moiety unless they are properly attired. They get much pleasure out of the fact that those on the surface are frightened by their costumes, calling them evil spirits or ghosts. It was during one of these expeditions that they fortunately rescued me from one of Gen's guards when I first appeared on the island. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have been delivered to Gen immediately. I have no doubt that he's now searching for me. Of course, I'm now aware that I was fooled. Atris is not here. I was at first devastated by this realization. Now I'm thankful. He would be in extreme peril here. Also, there's a quiet inner voice, an echoing remnant that wants him far away. I have witnessed an age dying, gasping its last breath. Today I ventured to the surface to see what has become of this island. I hoped it would not be as bad as the moiety had reported. It was worse. They have become slowly accustomed to its steady decay, but I was devastated. The lips from which this kiss is wrought has fallen words, will fall cold breath. The womb from which the cry released has suffered hurt, will suffer death. To get to the surface, we had to travel through a complex series of doors and passages. Before the last of these doors, they offered me a weapon, which I accepted, and then a mask. I held the mask in my hands for a while, wondering what sort of terror it might invoke in those members of my family who still live on the surface. But I also know I must keep my identity hidden from Gen's ever-vigilant eyes, so I accepted it as well. Then, together, we swam a short expanse and emerged out of the surface of the ocean under a rocky opening. The harsh sunlight made my eyes sting, but the fresh, rich air was exhilarating after these past weeks in the dark caves. The two men with me were silent, communicating only with hand signals. The three of us emerged from one hiding place and made our way to the top of the plateau. At the edge of a thick and overgrown area of the forest, they stopped, peered through the foliage for a moment, and then turned to me as if awaiting for my command. But I could not respond. In fact, I found it difficult to move. I was smelling, hearing, and breathing my youth. This swept over me in a matter of seconds, but in seconds more, all feeling was gone. There was numbness. We did not stay long on the surface, but it was long enough to see the worst. Riven, which was once one island, has now split apart into 5 distinct pieces, about half a mile apart. 4 of these have been claimed by Gen as his exclusive domain. Only his ministers and personal militia are ever allowed to access them. From my vantage point at the edge of the forest, I could see 3 of these islands. They are stripped of their former beauty and are riddled with Gen's self-absorbed constructions. The moiety rarely visit these closely guarded places. There is another island which I could not see, as it had evidently crept away to a terrific distance. The moiety are very unclear as to what exists on this island, except for the fact that they know it's where the great tree used to exist. The forest is located on the island that the surface dwellers in the moiety still refer to as Riven, but they also still refer to the entire world as Riven. This island is where the village is, which has changed dramatically. It is also the one remaining province of the people, though Gen's influence can be seen everywhere. Of course, I know the reason for the fracturing of the island. The moiety do not. Gen wrote this place, and it will die, as all of Gen's ages eventually die. I feel nothing today. I am nothing. I live in a cave on a dying world inhabited by people that... They are treating me so strangely. They don't know how to relate to a god. I'm still an outcast here. They whisper amongst themselves, talking of my bravery during my excursion to the surface, how I walked across the island, bold and unafraid. They don't know me. Even Etty is uncomfortable around me. At times, there is no awkwardness, and I am only Katron to her. But at other times, I'm something else. I am afraid. There is such a gaunt numbness inside me. Today, I do not feel closeness with my people. Neither am I offended by their worship of me. I do not hate Gen. I don't feel anything. I'm not even sure if... At least Nayla is still close. I am boiling. Gen is making and writing books. I wish they had told me sooner. Idris should have realized this would happen. Of course. Gen would have written all of the material necessary to the dunny craft of making books into this age, and probably every other age he has ever wrote. He is attempting to write his way out of here. We did not imprison him, we only delayed him. This age has become his factory, and the people are his machines, all laboring in his mad pursuit to become a god, to carry his noble dunny cause. So far, he has not been able to produce a fully functional book. Atreus has never believed in destiny, but I don't know what else to call it. It's too perfect. It's too much of a coincidence. They hang on my every word, though they don't understand them. I am their hope, and now I have returned. I owe this to them. There is no choice. It has been a long time since my last entry. It's hard to recognize, but I have found the Starfisher. It is located in an island which Rivenese call Alapo, meaning water pool, but which is referred to by the moiety as Alatawat, meaning pool of stars. Having once allowed Atreus to escape this age without leaving an open door behind us, it has since been sealed with the skin of heavy iron. A crude telescope has been mounted over the locked viewport, the combination of which was acquired by the moiety before my arrival. In the early days, the moiety seeking an escape from Riven briefly pursued the idea of reopening the fissure. They discovered a small mechanical step to prevent the scope from hitting the portal window. Ultimately, however, they decided against opening it. I hate to think what would happen to them if they had not left it alone. I've instructed them to stay away from it. I'm almost certain that, with the decayed state of the islands, opening the fissure would now be disastrous. I have heard in the days immediately following Gen's confinement to Riven, he attempted to undermine the feasibility of navigating the stars beneath the fissure, for he had seen the Myst book fall from Atreus' hand into that very same space. To this end, he would have people, alleged transgressors of the law, thrown into it so that he could observe their face. The telescope which stands there is the one he built for this callous experiments. It is said that they did not die, but what became of them remains a mystery. It appears that the limits of Gen's optics prevented him from learning of their fate. The star field beneath the fissure is not as it seems. It is a gentle space, as hospitable to life as a flowing river. That's how Atreus explained it after he had fallen into it. But there's much more than we've never understood, and we never were able to conclude upon its origins. But the visions tell me that it was born out of the will of the Maker, perhaps some greater purpose that we cannot yet understand. I still remember Atreus' words from his journal. I realized the moment I fell into the fissure, the book would not be destroyed as I had planned. It continued falling into that starry expanse of which I had only a fleeting glimpse. There must be some greater reason behind it. I neglected to mention it earlier. The unique shape of one of the great daggers which appeared during our escape from Riven, the very dagger that stands vertically at the end of the Alatawat, has been adopted by the moiety as the symbol of their cause. It is a sacred symbol for them. It is a representation of me. To deface this symbol is sacrilege. They have their own mythical explanation regarding its sudden origins. I haven't told them that I wrote it into this age, along with all the other daggers. It is strange how such a young religion can be so unbending, even to their own god. I have tried to dissuade them of the notion that symbols contain so much power. The enemy uses this paranoia against them. They are fearful of Gen's symbol and are terrorized by his symbolic use of the warg. But they don't want to hear this from me. Perhaps my attempts have even caused some of the younger members of the moiety to doubt that I am Catherine. My rare encounters with those who say they follow Gen have been discouraging. I have hoped to have some communication with the surface villagers, but they always flee from me. But I have heard news of some of the villagers' beliefs regarding Gen. Soon after we trapped Gen on Riven, he claimed that he was responsible for the daggers, placing them around the island as a reminder of their failure. In the village circles, it is told that was a punitive act performed by Gen to mark the beginning of a period of restitution, at the end of which, if they have proven their devotion to him, they will be delivered unto a new and better existence. I will continue to try and reach them. The door is open. Gen is free. Gen has the ability to create working books. In fact, he has written one each before I arrived, but has kept this accomplishment so well hidden that only his closest ministers were aware. Until now. I'm not sure. Perhaps he's written others. Other news. A few years ago, before the moiety were forced into hiding, one of them managed to steal what appears to be a test book that Gen had intended to destroy. It had been partially written, but did not work. They didn't tell me about it until now because they thought it was useless. Back then, none of Gen's books worked. But instead of correcting the problem at its source, he blamed it on the impure wood of the Riven forest, and proceeded to engineer a cumbersome mechanical remedy, a complex series of domes, to heal his book's inherent flaws. One of the consequences of this crude solution, however, was that the domes demanded huge amounts of energy, and the related problems delayed his success for quite some time. At last, however, he finished his work and was finally able to link to an age, but he kept his success extremely well hidden. However, for some reason or another, belligerent pride? He made modifications to the domes which made it obvious that he was using the domes to breathe life into his half-dead books. Perhaps he means to lure us into using the books in the dome. He can't believe that we would blindly swallow this suicidal bait. But he wouldn't know that we have one of his books, the stolen burnt book. There is a possibility of... I have read the burnt book. The age it describes would be unsuitable as a new home for the moiety. It must be modified. I will dream. I requested that a group solve the combination that will open the domes. Once open, we can power the burnt book. I do not think Gen will interfere. He will leave the bait. I've begun writing the moiety's age. Now I must acquire a second book from Gen. There is tension. A strain blurs my vision, and nightmares. Nayla and Etty stay close. Much has happened. Everything is almost prepared. We have stolen another book. But I am concerned. Gen will miss it. We have also discovered the combinations for entering the domes, but we have not discovered the method for powering them. By powering our burnt book with Gen's domes, we will be able to link to this age, but we will only be able to access the domes for a short time before we are discovered. Therefore, we can only use the domes once. I must find another way to make the books work. The gateway images in Gen's books and our burnt book all seem to show the same sickness. If they are not powered, the images are black. It might be possible to clear the vision with only... I will write the substance into the moiety age. All is ready. Now all we can do is wait for the word from the Moieder-esque, who are on the lookout for Gen to power and use the domes. When he does that, we will have access to one of Gen's domes just long enough. After linking to the age I've written, I only have to locate the book window substance and refine or adapt it. Laying this window over the gateway image should heal the books and make them work. This will allow me to use the second stolen book and return to Riven with more of the book windows. We will then no longer have to rely on Gen's clumsy domes. I laugh at these plans. I sound like Adris. I am risking my life, but I feel no fear. Only anxiety. Perhaps it's the source of my nightmares. The fissure, like a great wound, is opened. It stains the Riven soil with blood. I hold the moiety knife. The voices grow so loud. For their part, the moiety have complete faith that I will accomplish my task and lead them to a better world. It is the fulfillment of their prophecy. But they are also fearful and tense. I don't know what they will think or do if I fail. It is done! It seems too good to be true, but I feel like it's a dream. We have already evacuated all of Moiety to their new age. It is beautiful, and I am pleased. At last, my people will live in safety and comfort. They stand under the bare sky, unafraid and dazzled by their freedom. They are happy. They have named it Tay. There's still much to be done. We are not protected yet. The only way to completely safeguard the place is to destroy the book which links to here from Riven. But I do not know how to bring this up to the moiety. They will be extremely reluctant about destroying their only link to Riven. I share this hesitation. I would be cutting off my only connection, but for their sake it must be done. I am anxious to know if our activities have aroused against suspicions. If so, we must act quickly. Given so, I feel that now we are impregnable. Tomorrow I will return to Riven to see Gen's reaction for myself, but tonight I finally rest.